So we're back at favorites. Let's say we wanted to do some interaction with color here. So above our script, we're going to add, please select a color for the background. And then we've got our little form input box. And the key here is that we are assigning an ID to this box. And we're doing the same thing for the text color. We're assigning an ID. This is super important because in JavaScript, you can target IDs and you can manipulate things on the page based on those IDs. Okay, and so let's give a little ID to listing of favorites. And we'll just call it fave listing color. Okay, so what we're going to do with these is we're going to have a little button, and we're going to have to give this one an ID too. Actually, we'll give it an ID, but we're going to do interactivity a little different way. So let's say ID is change color, and then click to see color changes. And what we're going to do inside the button is we're going to be adding an event handler. But we actually want this code up at the top. So we're going to put it right before the closing head. We're going to add another little script section. And we're going to create a little function. We'll call it apply color change. And when you create a function, you have to do little parentheses, even if you don't have anything in them. And the code starts after the opening curly brace, and it ends right before the closing curly brace. So the code that's going to get executed is right in between those curly braces. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be pulling the color they pick using this background color ID. So the way we set this is we have to use a property, a document.body.style is what we want to change. And the CSS property that we're changing is the background color or background. And we are going to set that equal to the value that they select. So let me save this and show you what this looks like, because we're using the color input element from a form. And so here, let's do favorites. Okay, so when we select a color from here, we want to grab it, and for this one, change the background color. And if they select a color from here, we want to change the color of the title. Okay, so that's kind of our goal. So we've got document.body.style.background. That would change the whole entire background. And we need to target this ID. And so how we do that is we say document.getElement by ID. This is case sensitive, and this is what most students get wrong. They get the upper and lower casing wrong. In parentheses, we need background color. And because we're pulling this from a form element, we have to do .value at the end. And that will pull whatever color they have selected, assuming they click the button to change the color. And then for our text, we want to do, it's going to be similar to this actually, because we're not changing all of the text. We only want to change the text here. So this is going to be a little trickier. So actually we don't want document.body.style. We actually want get element by ID. But the ID that we're targeting is favorite listing color. This is what we want to change. Document.getElementById, fav listing color, dot style, dot color. Okay. And so now we're targeting this, and we want to retrieve the value they select here. So it's going to be very similar to this one, but instead of the background color, we need to look at the text color. Whoop. It is not cooperating on the highlighting here. Okay, so let's save this. And there's one other change that we need to make to get this to work. So we've got the button, but we have to connect the button to the function. There's a lot of ways to do it, but because this is just an introduction, we're going to use onClick, which is an HTML event handler. So if they click on the button, then we're going to have them call apply color change. So what happens if they click on the button is it's going to go and run through that function. Okay, and the way you have to code it, after the equal sign and double quotes, you do have to give it the name of the function and a left and right parenthesis. So let's go ahead, save this, and let's reload our page. And let's do the background color and the text. And let's click to see the change. Now, what if we wanted to change all the text and not just that one? Well, what we can do is we can still keep that for the heading. Please select a color for, why don't we say, your title. And then let's copy this. Please select a color for all your other text. And we'll call this other color. And so for this one, this is going to be coded similar to the first one because we aren't just targeting a single ID, we're targeting everything else on the entire page. And I think we're going to want to put it above the target for favorite listing color. Otherwise, if we put it after, it's probably going to overwrite the color that we picked or the heading. So we got document.body.style.color equals, and let's copy this. And we got to change the ID to other color. So what it's going to do, it's going to change the background color. It's going to change the color for all of the text, and then it's going to change the color for just our title here. So let's save that. And we'll reload. Favorite movie. Favorite song. Oh, who knows? I like too many to have a favorite. And running is my sport. And now let us change the background color. If you don't like any of these, I love the color picker. You can actually should be able to get the custom colors. Let me see. Let me do this for my background. I want that one for the title. So this is the title. Go with green. And then a color for all my other text. Go with purple. And now I'm going to click to see the change. Okay, so it is pretty easy to add interactivity to your pages. Now I should show you how to fix errors. Not that any of you guys would have errors, but in JavaScript, there are 3 types of errors. The most common is syntax, where you miskey something, or instead of an equal, we have a minus sign here. This is very common. So let me save this. We'll reload it. And then if I go to make these changes and I have an error, oops. When I click the button, not everything is going to change. I think it was in other that I made the I must try to make an error and it won't happen. Here, let me do a more serious one. We'll put the equal back in there. Programs are getting too smart. Okay, let's make a more serious error. This is another common one. So instead of a lowercase d for ID, I'm doing an uppercase one. That it won't like. So let me save this. All right, so now I should get an error. Fingers crossed that I can get an error. It's not going to error out on this color picking, but it should when I click the button. Okay, so in JavaScript, if you have an error, it's not going to do what you want it to do. It kind of looks like it does nothing. So you have to press F12 on your keyboard. And if you have a laptop, you have to press the FN key, keep that down, and press F12 one time. This will open up the console so you can see the error. Uncut type error. And it's trying to show me document.getElementById is not a function. It does not like document.getElementById. So if I click on this line, it actually goes to the line of code that has the problem. And if you have multiple errors, you always want to fix the first one. So looking at that, okay, it doesn't like the capital D. Now, if I change it to lowercase, it's going to run fine. Another error, and almost all the errors are typos. Okay, so here I can change other color so that it's a lowercase c. JavaScript is a case-sensitive language. So if I do that, it's going to have a problem. And I'm just going to put junk in here so we can test it. And select a color for your other text. You'll notice it did not change it. And if I look in my console, I've got one error. So if I go up to console, it says cannot read property value of null. So you almost have to click on this when you first start to figure out what does it mean null? Okay, so here it's got this line highlighted. It says it can't read the color. Well, why can't it read the color? So the ID we're using is other color. So let's come down here and look at where other color is being set. And here's the ID other color. So this is where the problem is. Okay, they are not the same. So what it's trying to tell you is, hey, you got a value of null because this ID does not exist. Okay, the real ID is other color in all lowercase. They have to match. And that's what makes JavaScript a little harder to debug, because it is not forgiving if you forget the casing that you use when you create IDs and variables and everything else. It's a case-sensitive language. So be aware of that.